No data, no problem. Zabu allows you to buy or sell securities on the Altex exchange from anywhere in Uganda via USSD. Step 1. To buy, dial *292#. Step 2. Select buy. Step 3. Select the product you would like to buy. For example, bonds. Step 4. Select your preferred maturity year.
Welcome back from that short break. Welcome back to Financial Markets, and we are going straight up with our proceedings from Unga Group. Unga Group actually began the year with a share price of 32 Kenyan shillings per share, but since it lost around 53.1% of that price valuation, ranking it 22nd on the NSE in terms of year-to-date performance, shareholders actually worry that are compounded by the fact that Unga has lost around 17%. Stock is valued from September 18th to date. What do you have for us, Victor?
Well, Unga Group is the 51st most traded stock on the Nairobi Securities Exchange, and over the past 3 months, that is, we are talking from July 20th to October 17th, 2023. And Unga has traded a total volume of 24,800 shares, and this happened in 61 deals valued up to 416,740 Kenyan shillings, and over that was over that period, and this is bringing us to an average of 394 traded shares per session. A volume high of 3,200 was achieved on August 22nd for the same period.
Well, that was a summary from Unga Group for any investors interested in investing in it. So moving on to one of our bottom losers, we have Home Africa. Home Africa Limited is actually Kenya's only publicity traded property developer. Home Africa actually plans to expand into 6 African countries starting from 2014. The company will actually construct homes in Tanzania, Rwanda, Zimbabwe, Nigeria, and Ghana. The new markets actually will be covered with regional offices in Nairobi, Johannesburg, and Abuja.
Well, as for current share price of Home Africa Limited, we are looking at 0.34, and it closed the last trading day at 0.31 Kenyan shillings per share. And that was on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. This, of course, was recording a 6.1% drop from its previous closing price of 0.33 Kenyan shillings. And Home Africa began the year with a share price of 0.32 Kenyan shillings, but has since lost 3.13% of that price valuation. And this was ranking it 34th on the Nairobi Securities Exchange in terms of year-to-date performance. Stake shareholders' worries are compounded by the fact that this entity has lost 9% of the stock's value from September 18th to date.
Interesting insights, Victor. And Home Africa is actually the 19th most traded stock on the Nairobi Securities Exchange over the past 3 months. This counts from July 20th to October 17th, 2023. Home Africa has traded a volume of around 2.94 million shares in around 768 deals valued at 944,000 Kenyan shillings over the period, with an average of around 46,700 traded shares per session. A volume high of around 500,068 was achieved in July 28th for the same period.
Well, thank you so much, Gloria, for those insights. But before we leave Kenya, before we leave the Nairobi Securities Exchange, there is some valuable information that we would want to give you on the ongoing trade negotiations between Kenya and the United States. And it has been an eventful week as the trade as the trade talks entered the third round. Well, the US-Kenya Strategic Trade and Investment Partnership, or STIP, negotiations have been taking place in Washington, D.C.
That's right, Victor. And the discussions held from October 4th to 7th covered a range of crucial topics, including agriculture, services, domestic regulations, anti-cooperation, and more. It seems like both sides are actually working towards finding common ground.
And let's not forget the involvement of both countries' legislative bodies. The Kenyan trade team held discussions with staff from the US Congress and the Senate. And this step is crucial for approval from both houses, and it should ensure that the deal gets finalized.
Indeed, and it's interesting to note that the presidents, William Ruto and Joe Biden, agreed to expedite the step, as discussed in their telephone conversation at the beginning of these negotiations.
Well, now looking at the economic aspects, it is clear that Kenya is not a major US trade partner globally. And in 2022, the US has had a goods trade deficit with Kenya, with exports totaling up to $604 million US dollars and imports reaching up to $875 million US dollars.
Right, and those trade figures show a focus on specific sectors. The US actually exported mainly petroleum products, aerospace parts and chemicals, while imports from Kenya were concentrated in apple, fruits, nuts and metal ores.
And a noteworthy point is the annual growth in the US imports from Kenya, which have been on the rise since 2001. This is particularly interesting considering the ongoing discussions about the renewal of the African Growth and Opportunity Act, or AGOA.
Exactly, and let's not forget the broader goals of the STEP, which include increasing investments, providing substantial growth, and also supporting Africa's regional economic integration.
True. And these negotiations also aim to establish trade commitments on non-tariff issues like digital trade, environmental concerns, workers' rights, and as well as trade facilitation.
Indeed, it's a complex and multi-phase negotiation, Victor. The Kenyan delegation, actually led by Principal Secretary Alfred Okumbundo, the U.S. delegation led by Assistant United States Trade Representative Constance Hamilton, are working towards a comprehensive agreement.
A lot on the table, but we'll be sure to keep you updated on the negotiations process as they continue to evolve. And moving on to Johannesburg, any exciting insights from the Johannesburg Stock Exchange?
Well, we have a lot from Johannesburg Stock Exchange, actually, Victor. It's a pleasure to be part of the market moves and discuss the ever-evolving dynamics of the JSE. And indeed, the JSE is a remarkable institution founded way back in 1887 during the South African gold rush, actually. Fast forward today, it's one of the largest stock exchange on the African continent, often referred to as the engine room of South Africa's economy. Victor, could you shed more light, actually, on the primary role of the JSE and why it's considered so crucial in the South Africa's economy?
Absolutely. Well, the Johannesburg Stock Exchange serves a crucial platform for companies to raise primary capital by listing their shares. It facilitates the process of investors buying and selling these shares, which in turn allows businesses to expand, create jobs, and of course contribute to wealth creation. By providing an orderly and regulated marketplace, the Johannesburg Stock Exchange ensures the trust and confidence of investors. This in turn promotes investment and growth within South Africa, and this is making it a vital player in the nation's economic development.
Exactly, and the JSE has certainly actually played a vital role in South Africa's economic landscape. One of the significant milestones was a transition from its electronic trading in 1996. So, Victor, how did this transformation impact the stock exchange and its participants?
Well, transitioning to electronic trading was a game changer. It really was a game changer for the Johannesburg Securities Exchange, and it brought a greater efficiency and transparency to the trading process. Orders could be executed faster, the investors could access real-time market data, and making it more convenient and accessible. This shift positioned the JSE in line with global trends and increased its appeal to domestic and international investors. But it is a pivotal moment that enhanced the JSE's standing as a modern and innovative exchange.
Innovation has indeed been a driving force in the evaluation, actually. So in 2005, the JSE went through another significant change, demilitarizing and listings of its own exchange. Can you explain what this means for the JSE and why it's a step taken?
Well, demutualizing essentially means converting a mutually owned exchange into a for-profit entity. Well, the Johannesburg Securities Exchange took a step to adapt to a more competitive and a modern market environment. By demutualizing, it could operate as a commercial entity with shareholders, fostering efficiency and flexibility. It allowed the exchange to make strategic decisions more swiftly and position itself as a dynamic and innovative market player, which was vital to staying competitive and relevant in the global financial landscape.
And the JSE's journey has been a remarkable one, actually, adapting and evolving within the limits and times. In 2002, actually, the JSE implemented the FTSE, or you could call it the Africa Index Series, a significant move that changed the way the indices are actually calculated. So, Victor, how did this actually change the market of the investors?
Well, the introduction of the FTSE JSE Africa Index Series was a significant step toward aligning with international standards for index calculations, as recommended by the International Organization of Securities Commissions. This move made Johannesburg Securities Exchange indices more robust, transparent and reflective of market conditions. It was not just a technical change, but one that instilled greater confidence among investors who could now rely on indices that adhered to globally recognized principles.
It's actually clear that these adaptations enhanced JSE's reputation and credibility. Now let's talk about some of these indices. The headline include the top 40, the mid cap, the small cap, and the all share, the fledgling and the large cap. Could you provide a brief overview of these indices and their significance on the JSE?
Certainly. Well, these indices play a vital role in segmenting and monitoring the JSE's performance. And the top 40, represented by the J200, tracks 40 of the largest and most liquid companies listed on the exchange. The mid-cap, which is J201, includes companies beyond the top 40, but not in the small cap category. Then we have the small cap, which is J202, and it covers smaller publicly traded companies. The all share, which is the J203, is a comprehensive index representing nearly all eligible equities listed on the main board, often seen as a market benchmark. And not forgetting the fledgling, which is the J204, and it is for small cap companies. Lastly, the large cap, which is J205, offers investors insights into the performance of larger companies.
These indices actually offer investors a spectrum of options to assess different segments of the market. Now let's look at this market performance. On the day you mentioned that J203, regarded as the benchmark index, saw a slight decrease of 0.43%. What could have contributed to this decrease?
Well, index movements can be influenced by a myriad of factors. This could include domestic and international events. We're talking economic data releases, sector-specific news, to mention but a few. But it's essential to remember that the stock market often experiences fluctuations due to these variables, and we're looking at 0.43% decrease in which is a relatively modest change, and investors should consider a broader economic context when interpreting these movements.
Interesting, and it's a reminder that the daily market movements are actually influenced by many variables. It's also fascinating to see that this performance of the individual stocks, some stocks such as the Foresight Holdings that saw substantial gains. Actually, what could be behind these significant movements?
Individual stock movements can be attributed to a number of factors. Positive news, it crosses, just like we discussed within the East African stock exchanges. We're looking at strong financial results, we're looking at industry-specific developments. All these can lead to significant gains, but investors closely monitor these aspects when making decisions. So it is important to remember that while some stocks gain, others might experience losses, and highlight the diversity of investment in the market is crucial.
Definitely, it's actually a diverse market with opportunities and risks. On the flip side, we saw these stocks like Labat Africa that experienced substantial losses. So how could investigators navigate the uncertainty that comes from such significant movements, Victor?
Well, such losses can be unsettling for investors, but it is essential to approach them with a long-term perspective. Diversifying a portfolio is a prudent strategy to spread your risk. Additionally, staying informed about a company's fundamentals, watching for market trends, and seeking expert guidance can help investors make well-informed decisions, even in times of uncertainty.
Wise advice for investors. Now, turning our attention to the trading statistics, on this particular day, we have over 225 million shares that were traded in around 300 deals. Could you explain the significance of these figures and what they tell us about the market?
Well, such losses are unsettling for investors, actually. But looking at trading volume and number of deals, we are seeing that these two can actually provide really valuable insights into the level of market activity. And in this case, the figures indicate a healthy level of trading and investor participation. The high volume and number of deals suggests that the market is active and that investors are actively buying and selling shares. So it is an encouraging sign of market liquidity and engagement.
All right, we'll be going for a short break and we'll be back with more updates concerning our gainers and losers from the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. Thank you.
No data, no problem. Zabu allows you to buy or sell securities on the Altex exchange from anywhere in Uganda via USSD. Step 1. To buy, dial *292#. Step 2. Select buy. Step 3. Select the product you would like to buy. For example, bonds. Step 4. Select your preferred maturity year. Step 5. Select the bond you would like to buy. Step 6. Input an amount of 15,000 Ugandan shillings or more. Step 7. Your order has been forwarded for processing. And finally, Step 8. Your order has been confirmed.